Hello everyone, this is Dr. Kim's Scholarship and Journey. Welcome. And today we'll explore the parable of the leaven. Let me share my screen. The parable of the leaven or yeast. This parable belongs to Q parables. You know, there are many parables that Jesus told, right? Some of them are found in Mark only, or some of them, and most of them are actually found in all three Gospels. But some parables are found only in Matthew and Luke. Those parables probably may be called the Q because there is a third source, you know, that was used by Matthew and Luke. Scholars call that source Q. So for example, here, leaven and lost sheep and entrusted money, these are found only in Matthew and Luke. Obviously, you know, some of them are in the Gospel of Thomas, but we are not studying the Gospel of Thomas. Okay, so leaven, particular, this parable is very famous, and so we'll explore today what this parable teaches about, you know, the kingdom of God or the rule of God. So first of all, you will be really surprised by knowing, okay, how the leaven is conceived of in this time. So eventually, you know, there is something reversal or motive going on in this parable, because Jesus does not use the leaven in traditional way or conventional way. So many scholars who study the parables considered the parable of the leaven is really one of the very authentic parables of Jesus. No matter what we believe, but this parable in particular was told by him, which means this parable contains the real gem or the characteristics of the parable told by Jesus. This parable, in a way, very strange and vivid and iconoclastic, tradition breaking motive there. So we'll see more about that. So here the point is, we have to look at the image or role of leaven, right? How does the leaven plays, what role does it play in this parable? And the idea that the leaven that was hidden, okay, and crypto, what does the idea of hidden have to do? And also we have to see a woman's work here, a woman doing something. And eventually there is a joy. So this parable is found in Matthew 13:33, just single verse. He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven, you know, in Matthew, the kingdom of heaven is the same as kingdom of God. Okay, sometimes you know, Matthew alternates this phrase, but the meaning is not different between the kingdom of God and kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven or God is like leaven that a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of flour until all of it was leavened. Let me read again. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven, right? So the kingdom of God is compared with the leaven. In the sower's parable, the kingdom of God is compared with the sower. Or in other seed parable, compared with the mustard seed, right? So we have to focus on the function, image, and the role of the leaven in this parable. It's like leaven. What kind of leaven? There's more description, things going on with this leaven, that a woman, right, took it took leaven and mixed in with 3 measures of what? Flour. Until when? Until all of it, all flour, was leavened. So Lucan version, quite similar here, almost same. And again, he said, to what should I compare the kingdom of God? This is typical kind of a rhetorical question, right? Used by Jesus when he gives a parable. Often he begins this way. To what should I compare the kingdom of God? It's like leaven that a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of flour until all of it was leavened, the same as Matthean version. So we can focus on Jesus' truth. In other words, what does Jesus try to convey the meaning of, okay? The implications of the kingdom of God. Matthew and Luke are alike in this parable, as I said earlier, right? Because they use the common source cue. Let us focus on Jesus' truth in this study when he tells this story. Leaven is, conventionally speaking, is a symbol of evil or corruption. See here? That's interesting, right? In conventional society, people think of leaven as what? A symbol of evil or corruption. Even Jesus and Paul, right, in the New Testament, they use it in this way. Be wary of Pharisees. Jesus says, be wary of leaven, means be wary of Pharisees. Paul also said, be wary of leaven in the church. Something corruption, the source of corruption, right? That is what leaven usually means and how it is used negatively. But surprisingly enough, in this parable, we see something good about the leaven. Why? Because it does great things. It makes tasty bread. In this parable, that negative image is not carried out here. A new image and role of leaven has to do with the small portion of that leaven, and which is hidden, okay, and taken by a woman, and it is mixed with 3 measures of flour, and then what? Eventually, we can expect, right? What is coming out of that woman's work with the leaven? Tasty bread. And then it will be served, right? At dinner party. And for guests, for celebration, dinner. But be careful, even in Jewish tradition, right? The unleavened bread or leavened bread, how they are understood. Only at Passover, the unleavened bread is eaten. Why? Because at Passover, right, Jews celebrating Passover because they were saved out of Egypt, right? So they had to eat such a short time while they are being led, by, right, Moses, and they don't have time, so they had to eat. God asked them, Israelites, eat unleavened bread. So unleavened bread at Passover is eaten in celebration of their liberation, right? So unleavened bread is evoking the memory in which God led them away from the hands of Egypt. Yes, they eat unleavened bread. But most of times, in good times, in other celebrations, they eat leavened bread. Why? Because leavened bread is, okay, just, good bread. I mean, tasty bread. They need to eat this wonderful, tasty bread, right? So leaven the bread is not wrong in Jewish tradition, even in Old Testament. People at the temple eat leavened bread in such a good times. And we also have to look at here the woman's work in this parable, right? A woman took the leaven and heat it and mixed it with the 3 measures of flour. So her work is important. So now let's connect the leaven as metaphor, image, with the rule of God. What does Jesus try to tell us, right, with this use of leaven? It's very unconventional metaphor. And what it has to do, the rule of God. Well, it's not easy to pin down, right, one-on-one. But certainly we can use our reimagination to think about in what way the rule of God can be associated or compared with this kind of leaven. If we look at certain functions of the leaven, there are some good things that we can relate to the work of God. For example, for me, leaven may be the small gift of God. We all received the small gift of God. But when it's used, it does great things, just like leaven in the making of the bread. The other thing probably, as the parable, points out actually, what happens to the leaven? It is hidden, right? Must be hidden. So this is another kind of motive. Leaven must be hidden, which means what should not show off for his or her, talents. Just serving without splendid display, without showing off what you have. Just be there and serve there, right? So the idea of a hidden, that may be important in the work of God, in the rule of God. Also, leaven must be mixed with the 3 measures of flour, a lot of flour, right? Mixed. This means probably what? Even if you have a gift of God, right? You have to use it, right? Mix with means you have to work with others. You can't do anything by yourself. If you have a gift, you have to use it. In the source parable, we thought about the seed, right? In the sower's hand. The seeds, good quality seeds, should not stay in the hand of the sower. It must fall off the sower's hand and it should stay in, sown on the ground, and it must decay, right? And earth work with this seed. So leaven must be mixed with the flour. So what that means, we have to work with other people. And also we have to point out a woman's work. Oftentimes we think that male often appears as the workers of God. But Jesus, interestingly here, right, introduces a woman here, and a woman's work, right? A woman's work is compared with the rule of God. In God's rule, a woman is important. She takes the leaven, and which means recognizing the gift of God from others, places in the right place, and mixes with the flour. So she, does all these process things. While there's the leaven, but leaven itself doesn't do anything. It should be used by a woman. She takes it and places it in the right place and mix it Who did it? The woman in this parable, right? So eventually, who leavens? This woman. She makes tasty bread in the end, and possibly she, invites her family or guests and serve this tasty bread. How great, how joyful event eventually this is. Okay, so eventually what we see in this parable is not only leaven. Yes, leaven is the essential element, right? Leaven, the small thing, hidden, but leaven alone can do nothing unless it is taken by a woman. So reflection, briefly, think about Jesus' unconventional use of the leaven to the kingdom of God in ways that surprise his audience. I'm sure his audience was just surprised. What is the point of the lesson that he wants to convey with this parable of the leaven? There are a lot, even a single verse of the short parable. There are lots of things that we have to rethink the role of the leaven and how we can do what we can do in the work of the God. Is there some connection between seed parables and with this parable of leaven? Certainly, right? Seed and the leaven. Two different things, but somehow there is common things going on. Reflect on the importance of the leaven as it is small, it is hidden and crypto hidden, okay? Not splendidly displayed and mixed. It doesn't stay alone. So if you think about all these things, there are really a lot that you can reflect on. So I hope you will explore further on your own. Otherwise, I have to finish my presentation now. Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, please like it. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel as I continue to add more videos, not only in this series of the parables of Jesus, but other things in my research and teaching. I'll add more, important, something insightful videos for all my viewers. Thank you again. God bless you. I'll come back with other parables next time. Bye-bye.